Here we are at Bob and Peggy Marsh's ranch. Roanalee is the bay roan, the strawberry roan right there in the middle with the bay face. And what attracted me to her was she seems to be the leader of the pack. Most of these are yearlings. I think there's a 2-year-old in there. But you can see her kind of trying to stay away from me and the others kind of taking cues off of her. Here she is pushing out what I think is the 2-year-old out in front of her to get her out of the way. But anyway, we are putting her in the round pen. You can see here we got her into the round pen. This is the first session in the round pen. I worked from about 7 o'clock in the morning till around 5 o'clock at night, on and off. I gave her a few breaks, but I was in a situation where I really needed to get her so that I could get her trailered to Walt Hill, Nebraska, a 5-hour drive. But you can see we're just working in directions, trying to move her left and right. She's prancing around, and there I face her up. Tried facing her up several times. That was the progression for this first session with her, was to get her to face up and then approach her and try to get to where I could walk right up and pet her. Now, this is later on where I am able to walk right up to her. This is actually when we came back on Sunday, about 3 days later, to pick her up. So this is day number 2. We left the halter on her, and I did put a lead rope on her when we first got there. And we're just reconnecting after 3 days away from her. And a lot of times they make a lot of progression between one day and the next. So, if they get tied, if their mind gets tired, then it's good to give them a break. I worked with her much longer than most people would recommend, but it worked out beautifully, just trying to progress with her so that they could handle her. Here she is. We're trying to get her to stand tied. I like to leave them loose on a lead line so that they don't hurt themselves, and they can understand when they pull back. She doesn't have any leverage there when she pulls back, and so that allowed her to regain her balance and just stop. And so we did that several times, so we could kind of get her away from the pulling back part of being tied. Here I am about 6 weeks later in the Kemah, Texas area, in her new home, and we are working. This might be November of 2025, and so we're just doing some more round pen work. I've got an old blanket that I'm just tossing up on her, and here I don't care that she walked away. We're just getting her used to the blanket. She's already learned that if she stops, things calm down, and so we're just kind of tossing this on top of her. You can see that she's doing quite well with this. That's her best friend off to the right. The little paint horse is 2 weeks older than Roanalee, so they're both about, 17, 18 months old at this time. You can see another one of my horses in the background. That's Remy, the red sorrel, really pretty sorrel colored horse, gilding that I had from the Pasture ranch. So this part of the video is a third view of working with her. Actually, the first 2 were in Mullen, Nebraska. Now I've got a Surcingle that I'm introducing to her. I want her to get used to having having something around her girth. Eventually we'll put a saddle on her and work her in the round pen, and so that part of the process is important to me, that we get her used to that, and it makes things a lot easier down the road. I've tied some long reins to the very top D-ring on the Surcingle here, and I'm going to work her in circles here. If you notice back in the Mullen video, I did lunge her a little bit in the round pen. I like to progress from the initial controlling of the direction to actually putting a lunge line on and getting them used to the lunge line during that process, because it makes that process a lot easier when you're out in the open and you need to use a lunge line. So this is just a little different take on sort of lunging. I put the reins on her on the Surcingle. This is to get her used to the reins flopping on her side, get her used to that, so she knows she won't be entangled. The progression from here was to take the outside rein and looping it behind her butt and control her from behind, which I don't have that in this video, but we show that. We did that, excuse me, later on. Here we're working the other direction, getting her to face up. All of this facing up is very important. It begins from day one, getting her to stop, to learn the cues on walk, trot, canter, and that all leads towards being able to do that out in a pasture or a large cattle pen, which at the end of this video will show her walking off in the cattle pen, and I basically got her to stop and face up and walk towards me instead of running away. Here's I guess the fourth session day. This is also in her new home. There's nothing else in this other than just I've got the long lunge line, and I'm using that as kind of my rope to get her to move out. I'm not, in this case, not pointing in a direction, primarily because I'm holding the lunge line. I like to use a lasso, a rope, to push new horses out, especially if they're older, and if it's a bigger round pen, it gives me a little bit more reach. But you can see here, she doesn't need all of that. I can do all of this with just my hands. Now I've got her out in the pasture, and I'm just sitting down, you know, continuing the connection with her. I just sat in the chair, and she came up and was trying to get my attention. She even rubs her head on my leg to scratch and itch, so that kind of gives you an idea of the connection that we've been able to formulate thus far. And this is always nice to do. Sometimes I'll even sit down in the grass and not utilize the chair, but this I recommend people do this. Just go sit out in the pasture and let your horses come around you. So here's the last part of the video. We are back in Walt Hill, Nebraska at the Swanson farm. We just got done riding and working 3 head of cattle. We had 2 steers and a heifer that we were pushing around, just getting her used to walking behind the cattle. And I like to teach them to stand tied. So in all of this work that you do in the round pen and everything else, when they face up and walk towards you, it's that progression towards what everybody likes to see their horse stand tied. It's the first part of that in terms of the building blocks. So she thought about walking past me, and then she's learned, just like in the blanket part of the video, she learned that, you know, it's a lot easier if she just stops and comes towards me. There's no work involved there. So I go up and I show her my appreciation for her to follow me. We had that beautiful connection there, and I'm just going to hop on her and ride her around a little bit here. But this is where you want to get to, is where, you know, you can be in the middle of the roping arena and just let your reins hang over the neck of the horse and walk around them. And most of the time when you get to this point, they're just going to follow you to the strip and shoots. If you just got off your horse to get your rope and you want to walk that way, they'll follow you all the way. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you, and I think it's if you have any questions, please leave them below and let us know if you like the video. Thank you.